Unrest in Iran is intensifying, with protests continuing to spread across multiple parts of the country, highlighting the growing anger against the ruling establishment. In the northeastern city of Mashhad, protesters gathered along a major highway as fires burned nearby, chanting slogans that openly challenged the Islamic Republic. Voices were heard shouting, "Pahlavi will return," and "Long live the king," invoking Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last shah, who has emerged as a prominent symbolic figure for sections of the opposition. Similar protests were reported in the capital Tehran, where demonstrators assembled in public squares, cheering, clapping, and banging pots in coordinated acts of defiance. Fireworks lit up the night sky as chants echoed through neighborhoods, reflecting a level of confidence among protesters despite heavy security deployment and restrictions on communication. These demonstrations form part of a wider wave of anti-government protests that has spread across Iran since late December. The unrest began in response to worsening economic conditions, including soaring inflation, rising food prices, unemployment, and the increasing cost of living. Years of sanctions and economic mismanagement have placed immense pressure on ordinary Iranians. What started as economic protests has rapidly turned political, with demonstrators now demanding an end to clerical rule and openly questioning the legitimacy of the current system. Iranian authorities have reacted with increasingly strong warnings. Senior officials have signaled the possibility of an intensified crackdown, while the Revolutionary Guards have blamed the unrest on what they describe as terrorists and foreign-backed elements, warring to protect the governing system. Security forces have been deployed across major cities, and there have been reports of violence and arrests, though an internet blackout has made it difficult to assess the full scale of the situation. Despite restrictions, protest activity has been reported in several cities beyond Tehran and Mashhad, including Rasht, Tabriz, Shiraz, and Kerman, pointing to the nationwide nature of the unrest. Authorities have accused the United States and Israel of fomenting the protests, an allegation both countries have faced before during periods of internal Iranian unrest. International attention has increased as the demonstrations continue. US President Donald Trump has issued repeated warnings to Iran's leadership against using force on protesters and has said the United States stands ready to help. Iranian leaders have cited these comments as evidence of foreign interference, further raising tensions at a sensitive moment. At the core of the protests is deep frustration, particularly among young Iranians who feel shut out of economic opportunity, political participation, and personal freedoms. The chants praising the former monarchy, once unthinkable in public, underline the extent of dissatisfaction with the current system and the search for an alternative, even if that alternative remains divided and largely symbolic. As protests persist and the government signals a tougher response, Iran is entering one of its most volatile phases in years. The standoff between the authorities and demonstrators continues to deepen, with fires burning, slogans echoing through streets, and uncertainty growing over how the crisis will ultimately unfold.